Look at that. Isn't that insane? You? That speed, yo. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Hi everybody, Merry Christmas. I suppose that applies because it is Christmas Eve and I'm not doing anything social. I'm here upstairs messing about with my computer doing sim racing stuff. And this is a present to you, I guess you could call it that. All owners of Game Stockcar Extreme have now got the ability to drive radio control cars. I did this as an experiment a while ago. You may have seen some ugly videos. Just because, well, people used to say you cannot do lightweight vehicles in this physics engine. And I've proven them wrong years ago, but it's actually so much fun to drive these small vehicles that I've done it a bit more seriously now. And came up with no less than 5 cars. There's the Ninja Racer, which is a super quick, although it does come in an easy, a medium and an extreme version. And there's a super toy drift car. These 5 different cars you can drive on one track, which is sort of an imaginary version of Hockenheim RC, which exists actually, but it's not laser scanned or anything. It's just a whole exercise is fun. So when it's realistic physics, when I say that, it's realistic in that the mass of the vehicles is about 2.5 kilos, which is what you get more or less with a 1:8 scale racer. But it's not that I know everything about RC cars and how they are set up, and I don't know anything about tracks and how to drive and how to set up, so it's realistic just because the main properties are to scale, but they're not an exact representation of those RC cars, so that's out of the way. It's not just me. We have the circuit here, which is originally made by Laurens Heur, Patrick Giranton, that is French I think, and he really delivered a big update in the looks of this racetrack. The cars, of course, the Toyota Supra based Super Toy is with permission from Sim Anouk, from all sorts of fame, and the little Can-Am car is from David Sabre, not sure how you pronounce that, but many thanks for permission for releasing that. In general, physics wise with RC cars, I've got some help from Todd Wasson. I never really asked him how to pronounce that. He is the physics man behind Virtual RC, which is the hardcore RC sim out there, basically, sort of a perhaps an iRacing type RC thing. Setup, options, controls. I use a gamepad, and a pretty good one, at least compared to the new one I got, which is a Logitech F310. That sucks. It has a really inaccurate analog stick with a big dead zone, and it's just not nice. What I have here is a really disgustingly old and tacky and sticky Thrustmaster gamepad, dual analog, and it doesn't have a dead zone, so it's really quite precise, and I can make small inputs, and it's quite sensitive to small changes, so this one works quite well. But I don't know if all the gamepads out there are as bad as the Logitech one, because if they are, then well, you have some trouble going to through the bends and controlling these vehicles. So I hope you have a good analog small stick. Don't try it with a wheel. I haven't done that. It's not meant to be driven with that. To make it a bit easier, what I do is some speed sensitivity when using a gamepad. I have about 50%, and the sensitivity of the steering I reduced a bit, and I also reduced, yes, the sensitivity of the throttle and brake. So that's something you have to play with. It's subjective, but that's what I did. So let's do a test in the easy car. When you load the track, it shakes like this. It's not a problem. In this easy car there isn't a lot to set up, so you have the steering lock and that's it. And the steering lock depends on just your preference, how sensitive you want it to be or not. So let's go. in the car is not the point, so we have to go into TV cam mode, page down normal key. There are a couple of cameras. This is the cycle, now it's cycling. Now, group 1, which is sort of zoomed half in, group 2 is zoomed out, group 3 is zoomed way in. And there it goes, isn't it awesome? So with this view the car is tiny, but you can see quite far ahead of you. But it's hard to drive like exact lines through the corners. But in general, for learning the track, this is what I like. Or for the quicker cars as well. So if I zoom in, this is the most zoomed in one. See, I know what's coming, and I've driven many laps, so I kinda know what I'm doing. So this is the easy car. It's still quite quick, in a way. Not when you see the others, and it has some lift off oversteer. If you lift and enter the corner suddenly, we are still talking 50 kilometers an hour. It's just a fair old rate. But I even drive this with the keyboard a bit, so this is quite easy to control. You don't really have to brake pretty much, you can just throw it into the corners most of the time or do a quick lift. Like here, and it will turn a bit because the lift of oversteer it got tucks it right in. I kept it flat there, flat here, so sure you have to be slightly accurate. A little bit of a lift to make it turn, another bit of a lift to make it turn, and there we go. I lifted too much there, I actually slowed it down too much. It brakes quite well. There are no brakes on this car, it's just lifting off that does the braking for you. Fast. Fast still is limited in setup options. Steering lock, and there's a preload on the diff, which kind of makes it rotate a bit less, might make it a bit more stable. But the more lock you have, the more preload you apply. You might also get some power oversteer snappiness, but it's not too bad. You can also change the toe, which is basically the angle at which the tires are pointing, slightly steered in or out. And this is important because it's four-wheel drive, so this is the angle at which the force is applied, basically. So more stable with more toe in, or at the front you can reduce it, or even go toe out if you want to experiment. So let's see about this. So the previous one, again in TV camera. I'm not even going to try anything else. See, now this is a bit more serious already. It's about 80 kilometers an hour. Still no brake. Oh, no brake. That was an air brake. So just by lifting off, it slows down. I find braking a bit difficult to do with the stick, so it's only on the more advanced cars. But still, even though it's much quicker than the other one, it's not undrivable at all. 83. You can pretty much go full throttle once you're on the throttle, and it won't spin out, and I won't stop driving on the wrong stuff. It is a concentration thing though, so the more you talk, the more horrible the lines will be. The better I drive, the more nonsense comes out of my mouth. Straight lining that part is quite tricky. Okay, I think I can zoom in a notch. Well, not that much. So group 1. See, when you lift off suddenly, it slides, which is quite... This is your corner entry control, is how harsh you get off the throttle and how much you steer in. You can do it smoothly and nothing happens, or more abruptly to get some oversteer. Yeah, that's not too bad, straight lining that part. It's really quite tricky. This is still being quite binary with inputs, so full throttle most of the time, sudden lifts. Once we get into the extreme one, it won't be possible anymore. Power! Not bad, not bad. Pretty good, 20.3. Oh, looked at the time and crashed. Now let's go extreme. This is, with space between them, really extreme. Same exterior, but it goes even more nuts here, but this is just, the physics aren't loaded and it's confused. Doesn't matter. Setup wise, a lot of stuff we can do here, just to make it extra confusing. Steering lock still there, but now we have brake pressure and also a brake map. So what you have to decide with this car is whether you use engine braking or actual braking with your controller or whatever you've assigned to brake function in this game. Sorry, simulator, sorry. Or a mix of both. So when you have the brake map at maximum, it does almost no engine braking, and when you have it at minimum, it does a lot of engine braking. And you can also use brakes, so it's a trade-off, and you can set the brake pressure strength. So if you use more engine braking, you don't want to use as much brake pressure, because then things might lock up and you might spin out, for example. So we have that. We have aerodynamics. The rear wing is adjustable, and it is quite an effect. So it works just like a regular car. More rear wing is more stability, less oversteer at high speed. There are different gears to choose from for matching the speed. See if you want more acceleration or more top speed, and it also changes, of course, mid-corner when you apply the power, of which it has plenty. How ferocious it reacts, for example. So brake map, brake pressure, we talked about that. Steering lock, same as always. Personal preference with speed sensitivity, your controller and whatever you prefer. Preload on the diff. So this car has, if I'm not mistaken, it certainly has a locked sort of, it doesn't have a center differential, so that's just locked. And then it has sort of limited slip front and rear. And the preload tightens the front and rear up. The front more than the rear. So things turn less if you coast into a corner, for example. There's less oversteer, less yaw. But with too much preload, it can also get tricky applying the power, as all the tires might spin up a bit violently and sending you into the barriers, which this car survives quite well, so that's good. Other stuff. Everything basically here. Camber, caster, the springs, which are very soft. Dampers, ride height. Bear in mind, if you if you lower the spring rate, the ride height has to go up a bit. Thing is, one of the issues with the physics engine, it never thought about remote control cars. So what it has to do, it needs about 1 liter of fuel in the car before it starts spluttering and running low on fuel. So even this remote control car has to run with 1 liter of fuel, which is quite a lot of weight, quite a large part of the total weight. And when setting these ride heights, the fuel weight isn't taken into account, so the weight of the fuel will actually result in a lower ride height than what you see here. So the lower you go with spring rate, the more ride height you need, because the fuel will press the car down. So yeah, that's all that. Anti-roll bars, toe in, toe out, and it all works, and it's all very soon very confusing. So I'll load the defaults in case I screwed something up, and there we go. Oh dear. You can drive it slowly, but even when you go slowly it's quite fast. Oh, look at that! Isn't that insane? The 1 to 8 scale cars on this track in real life can do about, I think, 17-second laps. This can do it as well. I'm pretty much stuck in the 18s, and that's when I'm not talking to you. That speed, yo! And yeah, that's what you get. It doesn't spin out, perhaps, but you see it. Oh, oversteer. So you have to apply the power a bit gently at low revs. The torque of this electronic motor is huge. It's got over 2.5 horsepower here. And here I do use the brake, so I'm using a mix of engine braking and now at high speed actually use the brakes as well, which is more confusing to more inputs to deal with. Wiggle. It is quite nice how that oversteer happens and how it the four-wheel drive and the aero straightens it out a bit. It's not that difficult to spin it though, you can still do that. Or go not straight on the straight. Okay. So I'm not full throttle here, and now I am, and you saw it slide. Ferocious acceleration. I'll probably be a bit quiet as I try to do some laps. Wow, 19.0, that's pretty bad. I can do half a second quicker. It's a bit messy. $18.6. And a roll. It could be a problem. Oh, was that a split or was that... Hello, where am I? Eventually the game will put you back on your the right way up. The finish line is a bit badly placed. It's right in that corner, the final corner, so we'll have to change that at some point for lap times to make more sense. What remains? Dorifto. 2 cars here because, well, why not? This is the basic one. You can adjust the driving, the gears here for a couple of final drives for your speed. Do a lot of low speed drifting or more high speed. Although the taller your gearing, the less sort of wheel spin you can achieve. Steering lock, of course, and that is almost it. We have anti-roll bars for the balance, so more rear anti-roll bar for more oversteer, and toe in, so more rear toe in for less oversteer. Not that difficult. More steering lock here. TV cam, let's do group 3. This will be a departure because there is not a lot of grip. See? Ah. That's, we're drifting now. And I've got full control over this. Almost. So let's do a figure of 8. There is a surface grip difference. Let's try to stay on the green stuff. Asphalt has more grip than this. See? How nice is that? It does about 40 something kilometers an hour, so this one isn't the quickest. And with the lack of grip, your main problem is not going sideways but going straight. Here on the straight, if you give big steering inputs, you're toast. Oh, that's early. Cut the track. This one doesn't have brakes, so if you release the throttle, it will slow down a bit. Best done by just throwing it into the corner. Lifting off and throwing it in. You get things like that, and then the other way. Nice flick. Let's see. When do I Scandinavian? Oh, look! Oh, I meant to hit that. It was on purpose. You get these glorious smooth. Those continuous drifts. It's quite nice, and I don't think I can do this with the keyboard. But I'm not having to do all that much steering input. That's the key, basically. It's very sensitive, and it wants to sort of oversteer by itself. I'm just balancing it a little with the steering. Oh, missed that again. Oh, that's a wall. I'm most of the time just full throttle. And this is insane, it's hilarious. It really is. You see it's low weight. When you have no throttle and you flick it around, it can really come around quick. But once those wheels are spinning, it's quite smooth. Right, so this is the basic drift car, but of course we need more power. This super quick one isn't that different, although we have brakes again, so it doesn't do any real braking when you lift off. You have to use the brakes. Steering lock, adjustable gearing, the rest anti-roll bars and toe. It's more about, well, just power, so you can leave those black marks pretty much everywhere. Oh yeah. And it's quicker. I'm not trying to do that. Yeah. So this is more of a challenge, he says. Controlling all that power now. Throttle is not quite an on-off switch. Can just more insane angles and more craziness. I have to be careful though, if once you lift off and the thing starts to rotate, it really knows how to change direction. Oh, look at that, look at that. Oh, look, no, don't look at that, look somewhere else. That's horrible. That's horrible. That's pretty horrible too. Okay, I have to change mental gears. So this one has brakes. I haven't used them yet. I probably should have. So this is doing nothing and applying the brakes. So they work quite well. Being four-wheel drive, this one has locked axles everywhere. So if the front tire is locked from braking, the rears are attached. So they lock as well. So that's almost a reverse entry. Not quite, but with some margin. Oh, and on my roof. An invisible man will soon put me back on my feet though. Feet? Tires. Alright, let's try to do something fairly good. No, well, not that. The extra power allows you to overcome all your mistakes and introduce new, bigger mistakes. That's pretty smooth. That's pretty smooth. Ah, it's too early. You see the potential for a reverse entry though. Oh, this is going slow is difficult. Thing just wants to slide. There we are, full throttle. So I'm not barely steering when those direction changes occur. Ooh, Jim Kaya there. That's how you pronounce it. Woohoo! Oh, that's a nice exit. A straight line this. Oh, that's not gonna do well with the rear suspension. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Oops, cutting the track. Isn't it lovely? Okay guys, I guess that has to be it. My driving really can be better, but you see the gloriousness, hopefully. And if you don't, if this is not your thing, of course it doesn't have to be your thing. I find it a thing that got out of hand. Can I do scale physics? Oh, I can. Gee, we have a good physics engine. Gee, I know some guys that know about this stuff. They can tell me a bit more about it. People who make the track, make the cars, scale them for me, so that's all hugely important. And now, many hours later, it's not just an experiment to prove that you can make these cars, but They're controllable, they're a lot of fun. And now you can try them as well, so enjoy that. Links in the description. Thanks to everybody involved. I mentioned the names, I think. I hope. I'm old, I really don't remember that. Actually, I think I do. And see what you can do with these cars. It's a whole new twist to Stock Car Extreme. And it's also benefiting from a bug that we fixed in our physics version that isn't in rFactor. So yes, it's better than rFactor now. See you later, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and have fun with this mod and enjoy the holidays. Enjoy 2016. It's going to be a good year. Bye bye.